Hey, Raiders fans. Today we need to talk about what's going on with the Las Vegas Raiders because honestly, it's been one of the more frustrating stretches I've seen in years. The team looks completely lost out there on the field, and it's hard to watch a squad with so much potential stumble week after week. We've seen moments here and there that suggest flashes of talent, but overall, the organization feels directionless, and it starts at the top. Pete Carroll's approach, his decision-making, and frankly his comments after games paint a picture of a coach who seems out of touch with the reality of this team. I mean, when you look at his quote after a game where the Raiders scored just 14 points and continue to sit at the very bottom of the league in total yards, it's mind-boggling. To call that a nice accomplishment because the players communicated well is almost surreal. This is the National Football League, not a youth league, and the stakes are enormous. Fans invest time, energy, and passion into supporting this team. And it's clear they want results, not just polite communication. When your head coach talks like that, it feels like a throwback to a casual, backyard football mentality rather than the serious business of professional sports. It's the kind of statement that makes you shake your head and wonder if anyone in the coaching staff truly grasps the expectations that come with leading a franchise like the Raiders. Then there's the chaos on the field itself. Watching this team rotate players in and out with no apparent strategy is baffling. Yesterday, it felt like the Raiders were treating the game as if it were a preseason scrimmage. Players were constantly swapping positions. Rookies were seeing uneven reps, and the rotations made no logical sense. You had guys like Caleb Rogers and Antonio Mafi going in and out, Kai Blue Kelly and Darian Porter rotating unpredictably, and even players like Jack Besh and Dante Thornton Jr. seeing inconsistent time. It's frustrating because some of these rookies clearly have potential, but without consistent reps and a chance to develop rhythm, it's almost impossible for them to build confidence or improve. One highlight, like an interception by Kai Blue Kelly, doesn't erase the larger issue that the team's approach is disjointed and lacks any coherent plan. Let the rookies play, let them make mistakes, and let them grow into their roles. The current system, where players are rotated in and out seemingly at random, is doing more harm than good. It's as if the coaching staff is experimenting more to appease outside voices than to actually strengthen the team on the field. The offensive line struggles are another glaring concern. DJ Glaze, who looked promising as a rookie, seems to have regressed significantly, and it's not a coincidence that Jackson Powers-Johnson's absence has exposed vulnerabilities in the interior line. The Raiders have allowed 46 sacks this season, second most in the league, and it's a combination of poor coaching, ineffective personnel deployment, and a quarterback who isn't fully supported. Geno Smith's performance has been underwhelming at best, with a passer rating that, even in the most generous context, fails to inspire confidence. Yet rather than adjusting the roster and empowering the offensive line to succeed, the team continues to rotate without addressing the root causes. Watching Max Crosby being lined up at linebacker instead of his natural pass-rushing position was another moment that left fans scratching their heads. You have an elite talent, and instead of maximizing his impact where he excels, he's being misused, further highlighting the confusion and lack of strategic clarity from the coaching staff. The bigger picture is even more concerning. Pete Carroll's admission that he was still learning the roster back in September is alarming. By December, a head coach with his experience should have a firm understanding of his team's strengths and weaknesses. Yet, it seems the organization is still searching for answers, and that uncertainty trickles down to the players, who are left without a clear direction. It's no wonder the Raiders have struggled so much, posting a 2-10 record under a coach who previously won a Super Bowl. Comparisons to historic coaching failures are inevitable, and it's clear that the team has been adrift since the beginning of the season. Drafting decisions haven't been maximized, key players have been mismanaged, and the overall philosophy seems inconsistent week to week. Fans are growing increasingly frustrated, and the atmosphere in and around the stadium reflects that. Yesterday, there were more opposing team fans than Raiders supporters in attendance, and that kind of disconnect between a franchise and its supporters is alarming for any organization, let alone one with a storied history and high expectations. It's not just about the head coach or quarterback either. Every element of this team is being affected. The offensive line, the wide receivers, the rookies, and even the veteran defenders are all operating in an environment of uncertainty. Players like Dante Thornton Jr., who had the misfortune of suffering a concussion on his birthday, highlight the human side of these challenges. These are young men who have put in the work, who want to succeed, but are constantly set up to fail by inconsistent game plans, erratic rotations, and a coaching staff that seems more concerned with optics than results. It's exhausting as a fan to watch, and it's equally exhausting for anyone trying to make sense of what's happening on the field. Every week seems to bring another layer of confusion, whether it's offensive play calling, defensive alignment, or personnel choices that defy logic. The Raiders' struggles are systemic, and it's impossible to ignore the pattern of mismanagement that has plagued this team since Carroll took over. Then there's the question of leadership accountability. The organization needs a clear path forward, starting with a recognition of what hasn't worked and a willingness to make tough decisions. Fans are no longer patient, and rightly so. The culture of mediocrity, inconsistent performance, and unclear direction has to end. It's time for the Raiders to evaluate what's working and what isn't, to put the right people in positions where they can succeed, and to build a foundation that supports players instead of undermining them. You can see in the body language of the quarterback, in the way the rookies hesitate on plays, and in the sheer frustration that radiates from the sideline. The Raiders are a team with potential, but right now that potential is wasted in an environment that lacks clarity, decisiveness, and leadership that inspires confidence rather than confusion. Watching this team, it feels like every game is a test of patience. There are moments where talent shines through, a well-executed play, a strong defensive stop, or a flashy interception. But those moments are fleeting, overshadowed by mistakes that could have been prevented with better coaching and strategy. The inconsistency is maddening. One week, a player shines. The next week, the same player is benched for no apparent reason. The offense struggles to establish any rhythm. The defense is left scrambling, and the fans are left asking the same questions over and over. Why are the players rotating like this? Why is the offensive line struggling so much? Why isn't the team building on small successes instead of constantly resetting? These questions hang over every game, and until they're answered, frustration will continue to mount. Looking ahead, the reality for the Las Vegas Raiders is stark, and it's not getting any easier as the season winds down. With the current record and the string of losses piling up, it's clear that winning another game this year is going to be a monumental challenge. The schedule doesn't offer any easy matchups, and the inconsistencies on both sides of the ball only magnify the difficulty. The Raiders are facing teams that are capable, disciplined, and much more cohesive. Games against the Broncos, the Eagles, and even the Texans represent significant obstacles. The Giants, despite their own struggles, are far more organized and effective than the Raiders have shown themselves to be. And as for the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 18, there's little reason for optimism. The talent gap is apparent, the coaching execution is questionable, and the Raiders continue to lack the structure needed to compete at the highest level. Right now, the idea of salvaging even one more win feels unrealistic given how the team has performed consistently over the past several weeks. This all ties into the bigger picture, which is the NFL draft and the opportunity the Raiders have to reset in a meaningful way. At the moment, the Raiders sit near the top of the draft order, currently holding the 4th pick. While this might not sound ideal for fans wanting immediate results, it presents a chance to rebuild foundational pieces, particularly on the offensive line and at quarterback. When you consider the teams ahead, like the Titans, Saints, and Giants, it's easy to see scenarios where the Raiders could even climb higher if circumstances break right. The Titans, for instance, have games remaining that could swing their record, and the Saints' final stretch includes matchups that are winnable if they falter. This means that there's a real possibility, albeit slim, that the Raiders could land one of the top 3 picks in the draft, giving them access to elite young talent to rebuild the franchise. For a team struggling as much as this one, those opportunities are critical. It's about setting the stage for the next era, one that moves beyond the confusion mismanagement, and frustration that have dominated this season. However, draft positioning alone doesn't solve the deeper issues. The coaching staff's lack of direction, the quarterback play, and the disarray on the offensive line are all systemic problems that need attention. Pete Carroll's approach has been inconsistent, and Geno Smith's performance has only compounded the challenges. When you combine a quarterback who struggles under pressure with an offensive line that cannot protect him, the result is predictably disastrous. Smith has been sacked repeatedly, his timing is off, and the lack of chemistry with receivers is evident. Plays that should be routine end in confusion or failure, and the confidence of the team erodes with each misstep. When the franchise finally makes the decision to move on from the current leadership, the domino effect will hopefully allow for better coaching hires, an upgraded offensive line, and a quarterback who can truly lead this team. Fans want to see progress. They want to see effort matched with execution, and they want a team that can compete week in and week out. The culture within the Raiders organization is another aspect that cannot be ignored. The disconnect between the front office, the coaching staff, and the players has become increasingly apparent. It's one thing to face adversity as a team, but it's entirely different when leadership is contributing to the instability. Players, especially younger ones, need guidance, clear expectations, and opportunities to grow. Right now, the rotation of players, the inconsistent game plans, and the apparent indecision on key positions send mixed messages to the roster. Talented individuals like Dante Thornton Jr., Jack Besh, and others are capable of stepping up, but they need a structure that allows them to succeed. Instead, the constant experimentation and lack of strategic clarity have hindered development, leading to a season filled with frustration rather than growth. Fan sentiment has also shifted dramatically. Raiders supporters have been some of the most passionate and dedicated in the league, but this season has tested even the most loyal. The drop in home attendance and the presence of more opposing team fans at games signal a growing dissatisfaction with the direction of the team. It's not just about losing games. It's about the lack of confidence in leadership, the questionable decisions week after week, and the perception that the franchise is not moving in a positive direction. The hostility in the stands is telling, and it's a clear indicator that fans are demanding accountability. They want a team that reflects the pride, competitiveness, and history of the Raiders, and right now, that expectation is not being met. At the heart of all of this is the realization that meaningful change is necessary. The Raiders cannot continue down this path without reevaluating the entire approach to football operations. Moving on from Pete Carroll and Geno Smith is not just about punishing failure. It's about creating an environment where the team can grow, develop, and compete at a high level. With new leadership, a stronger offensive line, and the ability to draft top talent, the Raiders have a real opportunity to rebuild and reestablish themselves as a competitive force. The potential is there, but it requires decisive action, a commitment to clarity and strategy, and an understanding that mediocrity cannot continue to be tolerated. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling around the Raiders facility after an explosive remark from head coach Pete Carroll reportedly echoed through a closed-door meeting. According to people familiar with the situation, Carroll was heard saying, "He's not playing for me anymore," in reference to a prominent player whose name the organization has yet to mention publicly. The comment, sharp and unmistakably final, has set off a wave of speculation among players, staff, and league insiders. Those close to the team describe an atmosphere thick with tension. Some claim the outburst came after a heated exchange between coach and player, one that caught even seasoned veterans off guard. Others say it was the boiling point of an issue that had been quietly simmering for weeks, possibly involving disagreements over preparation, attitude, or dissatisfaction with recent performances. While no one inside the building is officially talking, the silence itself is fueling the rumor mill. Carroll, known for his upbeat and relentlessly positive demeanor, rarely lets frustration spill into public view. which is precisely why this reported declaration has landed with such force. Players were said to be stunned, with a few privately admitting they had never heard him that angry. Some in the locker room are bracing for a major shake-up, convinced the coach's words signal more than a moment of emotion. They may mark a turning point in the team's internal hierarchy. The unnamed player, meanwhile, has kept his distance, skipping media availability and avoiding common areas where teammates usually gather. Several sources suggest he may be weighing his options, uncertain whether reconciliation is even possible after such an emphatic dismissal. Others believe this could be posturing, dramatic, yes, but part of a deeper power struggle that will eventually settle behind the scenes. For now, all anyone can say with certainty is that something has ruptured inside the Raiders camp. Whether it becomes a brief flare-up or the spark that reshapes the roster remains the question hanging over the franchise. As long as Carroll's words linger in the air, the speculation won't stop, and neither will the sense that this story is far from over. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.